What if the very traits that make her unique are not flaws, but God's own design? In a society that praises freedom yet pressures women to hide their truth, this question is more urgent than ever. This video challenges the clash between faith and identity, and why embracing difference may be the most spiritual act of all. Welcome to Axis of Curiosity, the channel where we explore life's most challenging questions about faith, identity, and freedom. Today, we're diving into a powerful thought. If God made her different, why must she hide? In a world that celebrates individuality yet demands conformity, this question could change the way we see faith and acceptance. If you find value in these conversations, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with others who are seeking deeper understanding. Being different in American society is not just a label but an entire experience. When a woman's sexuality, gender identity, or way of living does not align with what is considered mainstream, she is often treated as if something is wrong with her. Psychologist Carl Rogers once argued that true mental health is only possible when a person has the freedom to live their authentic self. Yet religious traditions frequently set rigid standards of what is normal, making anyone outside those boundaries feel defective or sinful. For women, this pressure can mean hiding essential parts of themselves just to be accepted. In a culture that prides itself on freedom and individuality, this contradiction creates immense psychological stress. On one side, many women want to remain connected to faith and family, but on the other, denying their truth leads to deep internal conflict. Modern research shows that lack of acceptance damages mental health, relationships, and life purpose, leaving us to ask why difference, if created by God, must be concealed. Religious institutions have long acted as gatekeepers of what society calls normal. In America, Christianity in particular has shaped cultural expectations around gender, sexuality, and family structure, often presenting one model as divinely ordained while labeling others as deviant. For centuries, these boundaries offered order and identity, but they also left little room for those who did not fit. Psychologists like Eric Fromm have noted that people conform to such norms not always out of belief but out of fear of rejection and isolation. This pressure can be especially heavy for women, whose roles are often framed through a religious lens of purity, obedience, and sacrifice. Even today, debates around same-sex marriage, reproductive rights, and gender equality carry theological undertones, with different denominations offering conflicting interpretations of Scripture. The result is a society where faith can provide comfort yet simultaneously impose silence, pushing many to question whether the rules of religion reflect divine truth or simply human attempts to control difference. When religion defines the boundaries of what is acceptable, those who fall outside them often carry a silent burden of shame. For many women, being told that their desires, identities, or choices are sinful creates an internalized fear that they are unworthy of love, both divine and human. Psychologists such as Brené Brown highlight how shame thrives in secrecy, convincing people that their true selves must remain hidden to avoid rejection. In American culture, where individual freedom is celebrated, this quiet conflict often produces a double life: outward conformity to please family or church, and inward suffering from denying authenticity. Silence becomes a survival strategy, but it comes at the cost of mental health, self-esteem, and even spiritual connection. Communities that prize purity or obedience rarely offer safe spaces to question or confess, leaving women isolated in their struggle. Over time, the weight of this hidden pain grows heavier, raising the question of whether faith should wound or heal the very souls it claims to guide. The deepest struggles emerge when faith and identity stand in opposition. A woman may feel a profound spiritual connection to God, while simultaneously hearing her community declare that her existence is unacceptable. This conflict is not simply intellectual, it cuts into the core of selfhood. Psychologist Carl Jung suggested that denying authentic identity creates a shadow self, a hidden part of the psyche that demands expression. For many women in America, religious teaching becomes both a source of comfort and a constant reminder of rejection. They may cling to Scripture for hope while also fearing its condemnation. This paradox often leads to guilt, anxiety, or even spiritual trauma, where the very practices meant to heal end up causing wounds. Yet in modern culture, increasing visibility of diverse identities has forced new conversations, showing that faith does not always have to be rigid. The question then becomes whether religion can expand to embrace the fullness of human identity, or whether women must leave it behind to be whole. Across America, countless women have chosen to break free from the silence imposed on them by religious and cultural expectations. Their journeys are not uniform, but they share a common thread of courage. Some find strength in progressive faith communities that reinterpret scripture through inclusivity, while others step away from religion altogether to reclaim their voice. Psychologists point out that empowerment often begins with storytelling. When women speak their truth, they dismantle the shame that once bound them. Consider the testimonies of LGBTQ women who, after years of hiding, embrace their identity openly and discover not abandonment by God, but a deeper sense of spiritual connection. Others challenge traditional family roles, choosing careers, relationships, or lifestyles once deemed inappropriate, and in doing so, they model resilience for future generations. These stories illustrate that liberation does not mean losing faith but rather redefining it on authentic terms. Each act of defiance against imposed norms becomes a beacon, showing that freedom and spirituality can coexist when women refuse to disappear. Even as stories of women breaking free grow more visible, America continues to wrestle with what true inclusion means. The nation was founded on ideals of liberty and equality, yet its history reveals long patterns of exclusion, first by race, later by gender, and now by identity and belief. Religious traditions still shape much of the cultural debate, with some congregations embracing diversity while others tighten boundaries in fear of losing tradition. Sociologists note that this tension reflects a larger cultural paradox. Americans celebrate individuality but often resist difference when it challenges long-held norms. Schools, workplaces, and even political movements struggle to balance freedom of expression with the weight of inherited values. For women whose identities fall outside conventional expectations, this clash is felt most deeply. They are asked to embody the promise of equality, while living in spaces that still measure them against rigid standards. America's unfinished journey toward inclusion reveals both progress and pain, reminding us that diversity is celebrated in theory more easily than it is practiced in reality. If God is the author of creation, then difference itself must be sacred. To ask a woman to hide her truth is to suggest that God's own design is flawed. The real question is not whether she deserves acceptance, but whether society is willing to honor the diversity that already exists within humanity. When faith becomes a cage rather than a path to freedom, it distances us from the very love it claims to represent. Perhaps the deeper calling of spirituality in today's America is not to erase difference, but to embrace it as evidence of divine imagination. Every woman who dares to live authentically offers a glimpse of that possibility, a world where faith and freedom no longer stand in conflict, but walk side by side. Thank you for staying with this conversation and reflecting deeply on these ideas. If this video spoke to you, please show your support by liking it and subscribing to the channel, so together we can keep exploring life, belief, and the questions that shape us all.